Alright, welcome to Santaroga Surplus. Despite the aircraft carrier length flat top sitting on the bench right now, we are still talking about the Palmetto State Armory AR-15 and the project I'm doing. In the last video, I was at the range trying to do some work with a 3x magnifier and a red dot, and I was having some problems with the red dot itself. So, what I was seeing through the optic, I was seeing the one MOA dot, and I don't know which one I was actually looking at is the real dot, but I was seeing this constellation of 4 or 5 dots. So it's more like a 3 MOA fuzzy circle, okay? And they seem to change a little bit with various recoil. I'm not positive that that was the temporary mountings or something. I thought it was a problem with the primary arms optic itself. So I came back to the shop to do some testing, and it turns out that the optic is not a problem. The first thing I did was switch out, because I have multiples of these. I swapped one out, and I saw the same constellation pattern. Now I know I have a slight astigmatism, but it doesn't usually bother me in these sorts of situations. And one of the reasons why I like tube red dot sights is that they don't bother my eyes as much as reflex sights do. So when I swapped out the sight, I saw the same constellation pattern, and that got me to thinking that maybe there was something else going on here. So I tried several different brands and models using my banner scope. It's a variable, it's a 3:9, and checking with different magnifications and different optics and seeing what would actually happen. And it turns out that there's nothing wrong with the primary arms optics themselves. As one MOA dot unmagnified to my eye, they are fine. Shopgirl says magnified, she only sees one dot. She does not see the problem that I am seeing. Now I checked the sight mark, and it showed one dot under magnification at the edges. But when I got it into the middle, it started showing a 3-dot pattern, just a little line diagonal that goes like that. I tried the primary arms micro dot. Okay, that's this one right here. We'll talk more about this later. That micro dot showed the same pattern. So I tried a Vortex Spark AR, and I saw no pattern. I tried a zoom dot from Bushnell, and I saw no pattern. Under magnification with the saw was one dot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Vortex Spark to go back out to the range and do another round of testing with a 50-yard zero. And then we will see how I'm doing on group size at that point. Once I'm satisfied that the rifle is accurately shooting and the optics are solidly mounted, we will take that out to 100 yards, and we'll go ahead and do some group sizes with these optics. In the meantime, we're going to have to do some running and gunning and blow through a couple hundred rounds of the Barnaul Russian steel case ammo. So this is what we're going to shoot for the next range day, which will be the next day where the winds are less than 20 miles an hour and the temperature is more than 20. So we talked about scopes and astigmatism, and that's the problem. The problem is my eyes, not the optics. We're going to talk about why I'm using a 50-yard zero. The reason I am using a 50-yard zero instead of maximum point-blank range calculations in this case is that I'm dealing with limited optics and a limited platform. I want to see whether or not the platform will perform adequately despite the low price. I'm not really looking to get into in-depth calculations on zero. So maximum point-blank range would be where you take a size of a target. Say you want a 6-inch target or you want a 9-inch target, and you determine how far you can go before you drop off that target. So your maximum elevation kisses the top, and your maximum drop kisses the bottom. For a 20-inch barrel, using 55 grain military loads in 5.56 NATO, what you get is a maximum point blank range the distance before you drop below a 6-inch circle, that's a headshot, of 279 yards. Give or take a little. There's some variations depending on exact rifles and ammunition. So you would calculate your ballistics on that, and that would bring you out to a 100-yard zero, where you're going to should be hitting 2.4 inches above your point of aim. That's all well and good if you want to make those calculations. A 50-yard zero means that you're going to be plus or minus 6 inches within 200 yards. And to tell the truth, that's pretty good, and that's all I'm really expecting to do with this rifle. Should I decide that I want to go out later after the 2,000 rounds, and should you decide that I should go out later after the 2,000 rounds and try for a MPBR 0, then we can go ahead and take a look at that. We'll have to choose our ammo and then figure out what happens. In the meantime, the 50-yard 0 will work just fine for this, and it gives me the option of using some of the alternative shorter bays at my shooting facility. We have several bays where you can have a little bit of privacy that are only 75 yards long. I cannot always do filming on the 100 and 200 yard bays. I mentioned this with the Primary Arms Micro, and what this is a 9mm AR pistol. And this is one of the models that takes the Colt magazines, okay? And it does so through an adapter piece. And the adapter piece is okay, but it needs to be pinned in place. The set screw methods never seem to actually hold up to slamming magazines in. It works just fine. It's a pretty decent little gun so far. I'm still working on the project because I want to tweak this a little bit. Let's pull in a little bit and take a look. Okay, so this barrel I turned out of stock. It was originally a clearance sailed barrel that was a heavy barrel, 8.5 inches long, threaded, and it's stainless. But it weighed just over 19 ounces, and now it's just about 10 ounces. And I could shave a little bit more off because I've got a lot of beef up here in the chamber area. But I decided to leave it at 0.65 for a final dimension. I wanted to get a fairly specific length, and I'm going for a kind of a look. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the proper sling mount. Right now I have a cheap rail mount sling adapter. That's not going to stay on. I've been thinking about how to do my front sling mount, and I've decided that I'm going to probably end up using the front pivot pin and replacing it with something that goes all the way through and has a nut, and then I'll put a sling swivel on the end of that instead of the captive pin that you traditionally have with an AR. So I took the barrel nut and I turned down one of the standard AR ones so that you've got something that is just this. It is possible to shoot this with just hand tightening, but I decided to file a slot right there so that you could use the standard wrench for tightening, okay? And this is it. It just comes right out. And that's all you need to do with a 9mm barrel, because you have no gas system. So now I'm just going to tighten this down a little bit, and that's it. We're ready to go. I'm probably going to try to reduce the length of the recoil system a little bit and find another pistol brace solution that will be a little bit shorter. And as much as I like the Magpul grips, I'm probably going to go for something a little bit more vertical and a little bit shorter. And that's pretty much where I'm at with this one right now. If you'd like to see some videos on how I'm doing this project, go ahead and tell me so. Thank you for watching. Please click subscribe and like on the video, and also please consider supporting me through a Patreon or PayPal.me donation, and we can continue our shooting adventures together. Have a good one.